It's been a really good time to be a Stephen King fan since there's been so many different things being adapted, because you got like The Dark Tower, It was a, huge success. Then you got Mr. Mercedes on TV, The Mist was on TV. 1922 comes out next month on Netflix. But the one I'm talking about today is Gerald's Game. Other than it, this was probably the one I was most looking forward to, just due to the fact that Mike Flanagan's one of my favorite horror directors. If you don't know what he's done in the past, just feel free to go look up Oculus or Hush. Hush is actually on Netflix. So yeah, be sure to give those a look. They're pretty good. Now, Gerald's Game doesn't really have the most intricate story, since it's really just Carla Gugino's handcuffed to the bed, and her husband has a heart attack and dies. So she can't get out, obviously, so she has to somehow try and figure out how to get out of this situation. So you'd assume at first glance that's not really that interesting of a story, but what helps with that is the fact that she kind of hallucinates and goes insane. So she starts having like these conversations with Bruce Greenwood's character and like a different version of her, and they kind of like try to assess the situation and like figure out the best scenarios, and make sure she actually gets out of the situation, alive. And that's probably one of the strengths, is the performances in this movie, since Bruce Greenwood and Carla Gugino does such a great job, since they really have to carry this movie since there's nobody else in the movie for the most part. The hallucination versions of them are pretty interesting though, just because they're kind of like the good angel and the devil angel, since Bruce Greenwood kind of is like the more negative side of everything. And, the other version of Carla Gugino is like obviously trying to get her to actually survive and more upbeat and all that, which actually is an interesting contrast. And you'd also assume that there wouldn't be too much horror and suspense in this movie if she's, handcuffed to the bed the whole time. But you would be wrong, because most of the movie, the like scary part of it comes from the tension that they build throughout this movie. There's just so much built tension in a lot of these scenes that it just starts to get scary at some points. Like, for example, there's one part where, she's already handcuffed to the bed, obviously. But then, this rabid dog comes in and just starts eating Bruce Greenwood. Like, just starts taking pieces off him and eating him. So you're already handcuffed to this bed fighting for survival. And now you also got to worry about this crazy dog that's going to try and eat you and your husband. So, the stakes are getting pretty high at that point. And later on, they introduce this really tall, creepy-looking guy that just shows up in the corner at night. And he has some of the creepiest scenes in this movie. Like, I just, shudder just thinking about him. He's just, ugh. You'll see what I mean when you watch the movie. He's pretty creepy. The only real glaring negative I really have for the film is just the flashback scenes are kind of out of place to me, and I didn't really enjoy a lot of them. They kind of just ruined the tension that was built some of the time. Not every flashback was that bad, but especially the first one, because Bruce Greenwood and Carla Gugino have this really creepy dialogue, and then it fades to black, and then she has the flashback, and it's just like, no, I wanted more of that story. I don't care about this flashback right now. Go back to that. But that's like a minor thing, I guess, but it kind of bothered me, and the subject matter's a little bit But it's whatever, it's Stephen King. I'm not going to spoil anything, but I will just say there's a scene later on in the film that is just horrifying to look at. You'll see what I mean when you get there, but I was watching it thinking, what's going to happen at that point, but then once it starts happening, it keeps going, and then it gets to this point where I'm just and it's just oh my god, why? What is going on? I almost considered looking away. You'll see what I mean. But yeah, that was the gore factor. Ugh. Anyways, moving on to my rating for this film, I'd have to give Gerald's Game a B+. I'd highly recommend this film if you want some genuine scares and you just really want to be creeped out. Perfect time due to the fact it's Halloween season. Mike Flanagan, once again, proven he's a really great horror director. I think the next thing he's doing after this is he's doing a TV show version for Netflix of The Haunting. You probably know what The Haunting is, but I'm really looking forward to that. Anyway, thank you for checking out my review of Gerald's Game. Feel free to leave a like, comment, subscribe, all that jazz. But until the next time, I will see you guys later.